Hi, my name's Michelle Balog and I am the author of Her Kind of Luck, which came out a year ago today. To celebrate, I thought I would read a little excerpt from the book for those of you who haven't had a chance to read it. So this is a combination of memoir and biography. It's the story of my extraordinary great-grandmother, Shani Balog, who was a world record holder for the longest ever round-the-world trip in the 50s. She was the subject of the first ever bugging operation by an Australian intelligence agency. She was a violin prodigy. She was just all kinds of extraordinary. And it's also a story of my experience uncovering her life story while I was battling severe depression during my 20s. So the chapter I'm going to read is called Ascent, and it's about my experience living in Shani's home and uncovering her life story. Ascent. Summer in Bellevue Hill smells like jasmine and sea salt. I breathed in deep as I stood on Shani's balcony, my thoughts tumbling out over the hills and harbour below. My bare feet pressed against the tiles where hers had been. There was so much possibility in the view that belonged to both of us. The days were hot, as though my excitement about the internship radiated through the whole city. Every afternoon I ran down the steep slope to Rose Bay, then all the way back up again. I had never been a runner before, but the lush streets and boat-speckled harbour drew me out into the air. It's a strange neighbourhood, beautiful but quiet. Where I grew up, in Summer Hill, there are always people out in the street. Teenagers mucking around on bicycles or skateboards, parents walking kids to and from school. It's a suburb of dense terraces and semi-detached Victorian houses, of front doors pushing right up against the footpath. People drink cups of tea on their front verandas and hang about chatting at flimsy open gates, their conversations interrupted by the comforting soundtrack of aircraft noise. The streets are more concrete than grass, but everyone wants to get out and enjoy them. I didn't personally know all my neighbours on my childhood street, but I knew what they looked like. In Bellevue Hill, my neighbours were invisible. Their palatial houses sat at the end of long driveways, concealed by high fences and dense greenery. Cars emerged in the morning and disappeared back behind gates at night. Running down the hill to Rose Bay, I felt as if the whole suburb belonged to me. I couldn't decide if it was eerie or wonderful. I began to love the searing pain that came with catapulting forward, the lingering aches and the deep sleep that followed. The loop I ran wasn't long, just under 3 kilometres, but the ascent up Cranbrook Road felt as though my chest might split open. It was the kind of agony that was fierce enough to distract me from all my thoughts. At first, I could only make it about 10 metres up the hill, then it was a little further and a little further after that. I was improving a metre at a time, marking my progress by memorising gateposts and flower beds. At night, I stretched out exhausted in front of the TV, which in practice meant lying in bed with my laptop. When I had the energy, I would poke around the cupboards, sifting through old records and clothes. Sorting out Shani's belongings and packing them into boxes was a condition of my residency. I tried on her clothes, designing outfits to wear on my first week of work. The majority of the dresses were far too small, but there were a handful that fit, and others that were even too big. Her shoes were tiny, too narrow for me to even fit my toes in. It was a wardrobe composed over the course of her life, a tailored map of Shani. The more I uncovered, the less I felt that I knew her. Every cabinet that I opened exposed a bevy of new questions. Where had she worn the kimonos? Why had she been studying German? In what country was this or that photograph taken? The smaller questions raised bigger ones, great expanses of her life that I knew nothing about. I did know that she loved chicken wings, Peking duck and chocolate cake, that she insisted on taking the leftovers home from a restaurant. She called it a puppy bag instead of a doggy bag because she thought it was cuter. I knew that she hated being told what to do. When she first bought a microwave, the user's manual said not to use the appliance for cooking eggs. The first thing she did was put an egg in, determined to see what would happen. The resulting explosion took hours to clean up. I knew that she played a lot of tennis, and that it wasn't until her mid-70s that she replaced the sport with bridge. Above the bar were dozens of trophies, golden women swinging rackets, and miniature hands holding fanning cards. I knew that she had her hair set once a week, that she hated technology and always wore black and gold clothing with big jade jewellery, And I knew she liked tacky knickknacks, little plastic robots that whirred across a table, rubber finger puppets in the shape of growling monsters. When she bought them for us as children, she always bought one for herself. I knew the sound of her voice, her mixed accent, and the feel of her crumpled skin. But these were small things, fragments that centered around the final 20 years of her life. As close as I thought we were, the 70 years that came before were a mystery. So thank you for listening. And if you're interested, grab your copies of Her Kind of Luck. And for those of you who already have and who've supported me over this first year of my book baby being out in the world, thank you so much.